Cape Town and welcome to the Absolute Beginners course. This is your first lesson in your first term, so well done on purchasing a new guitar and learning to play the guitar, the absolute basics. In this lesson we're going to look at a number of different things, including counting, timing, strumming, chords, chord diagrams, putting it all together, and it's all broken up into little sections. So you watch the first section and then you can pause the video, you can go back, you can do that over and over, and then you just move on section by section until you're comfortable with everything you've learned, and then you can watch the whole video through as many times as you like and you practice along until you get it right. You look at doing a lesson a week, so practice on that lesson for a week and then move on to the next. So thanks very much for downloading the app. Thank you to my Chord Design company for creating the app, Advert Video Moments for filming, and the Sound of Art for teaching the lessons. My name is Nathan Gilloy and I'll be your teacher for the year ahead. How to hold and tune your guitar is the first thing we're going to have a look at. We're going to look at it for right-handed players. So if you're left-handed and you have a left-handed guitar, do everything I say in reverse. Also refer to the notes for more detailed explanation. So you grab your guitar. For the right-handed person, you're going to take your guitar, you're going to take the body of the guitar and you're going to pop it on your right leg. You need to be sitting comfortably in a chair without any arms or anything like that. So you're nice and comfortable, upright. You take your guitar, the body of the guitar, and you put it on your right leg like that. There's a little groove in the guitar over here that can just gently rest on your leg. Alright, the guitar needs to be upright, so you don't want it leaning over this way, and you don't want it leaning over this way. Nice and upright over here. You're going to take your right arm, and you're just going to place it on top of the guitar like that. So you should be able to just hold your guitar nice and upright, just like that. Alright, we take the right hand, and we just bring it down over here. And we place it over the sound hole. This hole in your guitar is the sound hole. That's just going to chill out here for a minute. You'll need to adjust your arm so that it's nice and comfortable like that. Alright, that's where this hand goes. This hand, your left hand, is going to come up and around your guitar and just gently hold the strings over here. Your left elbow is going to come out a little bit and you're going to push your wrist forward a little bit like that. Alright, so when you grab the guitar with your left hand, you bring your wrist forward and your elbow out a little bit. You don't want to be sitting like this. You just want to bring it out and you want to keep an upright posture as well. Alright, and this thumb is just going to gently rock down a little bit behind the guitar, and as you push your wrist forward and you bring your elbow out a little bit. Alright, and that's the basic way how to hold a guitar. There are other ways which we'll deal with later. Alright, also, if it's sitting on your right leg, the neck needs to face to the left. Alright, so from your angle watching this on the video, the guitar is going to be on that side and the neck's going to face that way. Alright, so on your right leg facing left, like that. And that is the basic way how to hold the guitar. Right, so once you've learned how to hold the guitar, we need to learn how to tune the guitar. There's nothing worse than playing and learning to practice the guitar with an out-of-tune guitar. And it's tricky to do it by ear, which you don't need to do in the beginning. There are devices, little tuners that can tune your guitar for you. So wherever you bought your guitar from, just ask the guys for a tuner. Some of the guitars come with tuners built in, like these, and then it's much easier. So you either get a tuner from the store or your guitar will have a tuner. Basically the strings just need to be in tune with each other so that they don't sound terrible. Alright, so how to tune your guitar. If you've got your tuner with you or you've got an onboard tuner, you just switch the tuner on. Okay, and I'm going to try and show this to you over here. When you play your thick string, it's going to tell you E, A, D, G, B or E as you go down the strings. The E, when you play it, it's either too high or it's too low or it's in tune. Alright, so if our string is slightly out of tune, it's going to give us an indication of that. It's going to say go up or go down. If you need to go up a little bit, you play your string, you you tune your peg, you turn your tuning peg a little bit higher until you can hear the note go higher. That's higher, and that's lower. Alright. So what you do is you watch your tuner, and we're on E. If it's too low, you need to tune it higher, and if it's too high and it's pointing down, tune lower. Alright, until you get right in the middle, and you've usually got a little green dot and it says guitar's in tune. So, if the guitar is too low, it's going to tell you to go up, and you just gently turn your guitar peg until you reach the little center, the little green dot. And then you're going to do that for the rest of the strings. The second string is an A. So you're going to tune your guitar until you reach A, and then D, G, a B, and an E. And you just go over the strings a couple times. E is your thickest, then you've got A, D, G, B, and your thin E. Those will be in your notes, and there'll be a detailed explanation of how to do that as well. Alright, and that's how to tune your guitar. Counting and strumming. That's what we're going to have a look at first. It's very important that right from the beginning you get your timing right. Okay, so what we're going to do is, in music, we've got to learn to count to 4, basically. So it's not that tough. We're going to count to 4 very slowly, and that's going to be the basis of our counting for the first term. Alright, you can think of it as like a clock. As the clock ticks, 1, 2, 3, 4. It goes all the way through to 60 to make a minute. We're going to follow that, but we're only going to count to 4. Alright, so we're going to count to 4 on the clock. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. But we're going to keep counting with the clock in the same time as it. So as the clock ticks, we count. But instead of counting to 60, we're going to count in groups of 4. So it's going to go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets very monotonous, but it's very important that we learn that. Because when we learn to count in music, we learn to keep time. Alright, so that when we start strumming and we start playing the guitar and we start doing all sorts of things, we don't go out of time, and the song doesn't warp and sound disjointed and funny. You can change the speed of the clock. You can slow it down and you can speed it up, but you need to do that controlled, and you need to do that with purpose. So for the beginning, for the first term, same speed as a clock, we're just going to count along with that clock. It's very important. Okay, so counting and timing is a clock. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to show you how that ties in with our first part, which is strumming. Okay, so strumming the guitar is basically a right hand technique. It's where you're playing down on your strings, like that. This is called strumming, and that's the first thing we're going to learn with our timing and our counting. With your right hand, you're just going to gently and very relaxed, right by the sound hole over here, you're going to use your fingers, and you're just going to gently go down on the strings like that. Don't worry about exactly how many fingers, exactly how to hold it. Just find a comfortable way for now to strum down on those strings. Very gently, don't scrape the strings, and don't do anything that sounds horrible. Just gently lay down on your strings like that. Alright, that is strumming. That's going down. We're not going to go up yet. When we go up, we're going to be using our thumb, and down with our fingers. Up with our thumb. So ultimately your wrist is going to just rock like that. It's going to be nice and loose. You don't want to be rigid. Don't hold your fingers tight. Don't do anything tight. Keep everything loose and relaxed and gentle. Alright, so just down with your fingers like that. You start just by this top string and you end just at the bottom string, like that. That is strumming. Okay, now that we've learned how to do some counting and we've learned how to do some strumming, we're going to put those two together. And that's going to be the sort of basis for our first lesson. Alright, so counting is going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our strumming is when we move down with our hand. Now we're going to do those together as we count and as that clock ticks. So if you've got a clock, put the clock up and watch the clock. As the clock ticks 1, you're going to count 1. You can do it in your head or you can count it aloud. As the clock ticks 1, you strum down. So they're happening at the same time. Clock ticks 1, 2, 3, 4. You're literally playing along to the clock. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're just going to keep doing that. You can do it for a minute. So as the clock ticks for a full minute, strum down and count to 4. Alright, so don't count 5, 6, 7, 8. Just keep counting to 4 and keep repeating that all the way for a minute. Don't think to yourself, this is getting boring, this is too easy. This is vital. This needs to be ingrained into you so that you've got the natural flow, rhythm and tempo and counting within you. So that when people are playing and the drummer is playing and he's keeping your counting for you, you can sync up to that without it being a struggle. The other part that's important when you're holding your guitar is to make sure that you can hold it just with your arm and you can strum down that. So this hand you don't need for now. Alright, so that is the basics of strumming in time. So you're counting and you're strumming at the same time. Chord diagrams and chords. That's the next thing we're going to have a look at. We've learned a little bit of timing and counting, which we do in our head, or we do it vocally. We've done a little bit about strumming, which is on this side for your right hand. Now we need to do a little bit on our left hand. And we're going to learn how to play some chords. That's the first thing we're going to do. But in order to learn and play some of these chords, we need to isolate and find these chords on paper. Alright, when you get presented with a song or a piece of music, you're usually given either it's written in music, which we deal with much later, or it's written in a chord diagram or a tab. We're looking at chord diagrams. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to need to learn a chord diagram, what it is and what it represents. We're going to take a look at chord diagrams. A chord diagram is a picture or representation of your guitar. It's done so that we can make reference to where our fingers are supposed to be and how to play certain chords on the guitar. Chord diagram is going to be a picture of this part of the guitar, and it looks like that. Alright, so we take a photo of the guitar. Then what we're going to do is we're going to highlight certain aspects of the guitar. You've got your neck nut, your frets running across like that, your strings. All of those things are going to be highlighted in this next image. So what we've done is we've drawn over the frets, the neck nut and the strings. Then what we do is we take the picture away and we're left with just lines, and it looks like that. Once we've got those lines, over a bit of time, the chord diagram has sort of neatened up into something a little bit more presentable, and it looks like this. The chord diagram over here shows you where your neck nut is, it shows you where your frets are, and it shows you where your strings are. So it's a very basic sort of vector image of your guitar, like that. And we're going to use those to learn where to put our fingers for our left hand. Alright, you can see there are 2 black dots on that picture. Those are showing you where to put your fingers. So basically, a chord diagram is a sort of shelled out version of this part of your guitar. It's going to show you where to put your fingers. So now we're going to have a look at chords. And chords are a number of notes that you play together on the side of the guitar. Alright, so a chord is literally usually just looks like a particular shape, and you've got to memorize hundreds of those, which we do slowly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn to find the chords in our chord diagram, and we're going to look at one chord for now, which is the E minor. Alright, so what we need to do is we need to find a chord diagram of an E minor, which is this. Alright, that is an E minor. It's teaching us how to play a chord. So from the chord diagram, we can see that there are two dots on the guitar. Okay, those dots are showing you where to put your fingers. So, if we look at the diagram, we look at the guitar. I'm going to hold it upright like this for now. You can keep your guitar on your lap. I'm going to show you where those dots are. It's not on your thickest string. It's on your second thickest string and your third thickest string. Those two dots are in your second box. Alright, so they're not on your thickest string. They're on the next two strings in your second box. That's called your second fret. Alright, so that is where you'll find your E. So if you're playing the guitar and you're looking at your chord diagram and we're saying let's play E minor, it's your first chord, you can just memorize that name for now. You don't need to know why it's called an E minor or anything yet. So we've got the E minor drawn and we want to play it here. It's not on your thickest string, it's on your second thickest string and your third thickest string. We're going to take our two fingers, our index finger and our middle finger, and we're going to place them on the second thickest string and the third thickest string in the second box, and it looks like that. Alright, so we take our fingers away, let's play the E minor again. So not on your thickest string, it's on your next two strings. So now over here, on these two strings, with your first finger and your second finger. And you can try this along with me. We're going to take our first finger, put it on our second thickest string in the second box, and our second finger on the third thickest string in the second box as well. We're going to use the very tips of our fingers to press onto these strings, and we're going to make sure our wrist is pushed nice far forward and that our fingers are arched this way. Don't let your fingers collapse and do that. With a bit of time, your fingers will strengthen and you'll be able to arch that nice and easily. So you take the very tips of your fingers, not on your thickest string, on your next two strings, and you place them firmly down on the strings, touching your fretboard. And your fretboard is this piece of wood on top here. So these two fingers, index and middle, are coming into your second box, your second fret, not on your thickest, but the next two strings here. And that is an E minor. So what you're going to do is you're going to practice taking your finger away and placing the E minor. You take your finger away, E minor, and you can do that until you get much better at it. Alright, so let's look at that chord one more time. The E minor is two fingers on your second thickest and your third thickest strings in the second box. They're positioned nice and close together. Using the very tips of your fingers, you push your wrist forward and you press down on the guitar like that, keeping your fingers nice and arched. When they do that, which they sometimes do, just make sure you pop your fingers back up and let them stay like that. Bring your wrist forward and push down on the strings. And that is your E minor. That is your very first chord. Alright, so spend some time taking your fingers away and finding the E minor. Taking your fingers away and finding the E minor. What we're going to do is look at the next chord now, and the next chord is A2. It looks like this. It looks very much the same as the E minor, except there's one difference. And the one difference is that we're not playing on the thickest or the second thickest. We're playing on the middle two strings. So with your index finger and your second finger, you press down on the middle two strings like that. So not your thickest, not your second thickest, the next two. And they're in the second box, the second fret. Again, fingers nice and arched, push your wrist forward a little bit, elbow out, and use the very tips of your fingers to press down like that. Then you just apply a little bit of pressure and you hold your A2 like that. Take your fingers away, first finger, second finger together on the middle two strings, not your thickest, not your second thickest, in the second box, Fingers nice and arched, wrist forward, using the very tips of your fingers pressed down on those two middle strings like that. That is your A2. So you take your fingers away, you place your A2. You take your fingers away, you press your A2 like that. You can refer to the notes for the diagrams, and you can slowly go over it with time. So you can pause the video, you can go back and you can learn the E minor and the A2, and you practice those chords individually. Alright, and that is 2 basic chords that we're going to learn for today. Recap. Right, stop the video and don't go any further until you've done a recap. We've learned how to hold the guitar, we've learned how to tune it, we've learned a little bit of counting like a clock, we've learned some strumming, and now we've learned chord diagrams and how to hold our first 2 chords. Make sure you've practiced those a bit and that you know what's going on before you move on. Alright, because the next part's going to be the last part of the lesson. It's going to be where we're using this hand and this hand, and we're actually playing something, alright, and we're playing it in time. We're doing it properly. So go over all of the stuff you've learned, and once you've done that, we can move forward to the last part, which is strumming and playing chords in time. Counting, strumming, and chords. It's the last part we're going to look at today. We're basically going to put everything we've learned together and we're going to play something on the guitar. So we've got our counting like a clock, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got our strumming in time with the clock, and now we're going to hold some chords. Alright, and we're going to play all of that together. First thing we're going to do, back up to the E minor. Now if you look on the diagram now, you've got above your neck nut, this part over here, you've got zeros. Okay, those zeros indicate that you don't have a finger on that particular string, but you're going to strum that string anyway. So you're going to strum all of your strings, including the strings that do and do not have your fingers on. So you've got the 2 black dots and the 0, 0, 0, 0. What it means is on this side, you're going to play all of those strings. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the E minor. Go over and find the E minor. It's drawn up over here. Take a minute and find the E minor. It's not on your thickest string, it's on the next 2 strings, and it's in the second box, the second fret. Fingers nice and arched, wrist forward, and pushing down with the very tips of your fingers. Okay, and you're going to hold that nice and tight. Lifting your fingers and arching your fingers like that are going to make sure that these strings aren't getting touched or interfered with by this hand. Alright, you're going to hear a few noises and a few buzzes. That's very natural in the beginning. You just play through it. As time goes along, your fingers get stronger, they develop muscle memory, they start knowing where to put themselves, and your chords start sounding a whole lot neater. Alright, so take your hand away and find the E minor, not on your thickest string, on your next 2 strings in the second box, using the very tips of your fingers to push down, push your wrist forward, arching your fingers and hold that nice and tight. Once you've got that, you're going to take your right hand and you're going to strum through all the strings. And you'll get that. You might get these noises. It's called fret buzz. It means your fingers aren't quite pushing tight enough, so you need to push a little bit tighter. Also, make sure your fingers are nice and snug in that fret box. Make sure this one is right up against the fret, and this one is as close to it as possible. If your fingers are too far back in the fret, you're going to get that as well, dead sounds. Alright, so make sure they're nice and snug, nice and upright, using the tips of your fingers with an E minor. You're going to strum down like that. Give it some time, practice doing that a number of times. Like that. Then, once you've done that for a bit, you can take your hand away and find your E minor again. Not on your thickest, your second 2 strings in the second box. Nice and close to the fret, fingers upright, using the very tips of your fingers and your wrist forward, with your fingers arched. You push nice and tight down on that chord. What we're going to do now is we're going to strum in our timing. We're going to count and strum at the same time. So as we think of a clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, and as it continues, we're going to strum along like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep holding that chord and strum and count along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If it's sounding really smudgy and lots of fret buzz and noises, just start again when I started strumming. Alright, so practice that E minor. You can stop the video and you can practice that on your own, counting and strumming, and just keep practicing that chord until it's nice and comfortable. Then take your fingers away and practice strumming and finding that chord again. Let's do that together again. So, E minor, not on your thickest, your second two thickest strings in your second box, nice and snug, wrist forward, fingers arched, using the very tips of your fingers, push down nice and tight. Okay, and with the clock, we're going to count and strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is how we strum and count and play our first chord. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at our second chord, the A2. Right, so the A2 is over here. You remember playing the chord, we're going to find it again, and we're going to go over it, and we're going to learn how to strum in time with that now. If you look at the diagram, you'll notice the 2 dots for your fingers, then you'll notice the zeros on top, indicating that you can play those strings, and then there's one with an X. On your thickest string, there's an X over here. Okay. Then there's a 0, then your 2 fingers, and a 0 and a 0 again. What that means is you can play all of your strings except this one. So you hold your A2, so not on your thickest, not on your second thickest, the middle 2 strings in your second fret, nice and snug up to the fret, wrist forward, fingers arched, nice and tight with the tips of your fingers, you hold that chord. And what you do is on this side, you try not to hit this top string. So you aim for this string down. But now, don't over-aim, don't overthink, and don't overdo it. If you hit the top string whilst you're playing this chord a few times, it doesn't matter. You'll get, with time, you'll get a little bit more accurate, and eventually you'll be skipping that string. I want you to still play nice and relaxed, and try and aim for the string down. You will hit this top string, ignore it for now. Just know that you're not supposed to. With time, you won't be playing that string. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the A2 chord. Not on your second thickest, not on your thickest, not on your second thickest, on the middle 2 strings in the second fret. Nice and snug up to the fret, wrist forward, fingers arched, very tips of your fingers pressed down nice and tight. Then on this side, we're going to strum and count to the clock again. So holding your chord and playing along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. So what you're going to do now is you take your fingers away and we find the A2 again. Not on your thickest, not on your second thickest, on these 2 middle strings, second fret, second box, right up against the fret, wrist forward, fingers arched, using the very tips of your fingers, press down nice and tight. The more you arch your fingers and the more you push your wrist forward, the clearer all the other strings are going to sound. Alright, so not playing that top thickest note, we're going to strum down from here again. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, and you're going to practice taking your fingers away, playing the A2, strumming it. Keep strumming it a number of times. Strum it for a full minute until you get used to it. So what you do now is you practice your E minor on its own. You give that some time. Then you practice your A2 on its own and you give it some time. And you just practice those chords individually. And that is how you play and strum with counting your first two chords. Lastly, what we're going to do is we're going to put those two chords together so that we are playing two chords in a row. Generally, sort of the strum-along, sing-along songs that you probably want to learn have a number of chords and they're all sort of strummed together, creating a particular song. So we're going to do that with two chords. These are kind of chord progressions, so we're adding chords together. What we're going to do is once you've learned those two chords individually, then we can put them together. So if you still need a bit more time, go back and just practice those two chords, strumming and counting, and then move on to this part. We're going to find the E minor. I'll give you some time to do that. Just find the E minor. Alright, once you've got the E minor, we're going to strum that 4 times, then we're going to strum it 4 times again, and that's it. So it's going to look like this. You can play along with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. As soon as you've done that, pick these two fingers up and just move them down a string. Straight away to your A2. You're now on A2. And without any pauses, strum the A2, not playing that thicker string, aiming to not play it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've played the E 4 times, 4 times. Then we've played the A2 4 times and 4 times. Once you've got that, we start again. Back up to E minor, 4 times, 4 times. And then the A2, 4 times, 4 times. And you keep moving between those two chords. E minor 4 times, 4 times. A2 4 times, 4 times. E minor 4 times, 4 times. And A2 4 times, 4 times. You're now putting chords together. You're going to practice that over and over and over and over. Let's do it together. If you lose your place, because I'm just going to keep playing, just go back to E minor and wait for me. And then as soon as I'm back on E minor and we start strumming, just start strumming again. Alright, so let's do that. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, etc. Here we go. And you can play and strum along too with me. E minor and 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down to A2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2. Onto the A2. 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. 1, 2, 3, 4. A2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, how did you do? If you managed to play along with me, that's great. That's very good. If you're struggling a little bit, that's not a problem. What you're going to do is you're going to do exactly what we did on your own, very slowly. Alright, so practice playing E minor 4 times, 4 times, A2 4 times, 4 times, and just keep practicing that over and over and over. So stop the video, practice that. Once you've gotten more comfortable with that, you can follow along to this. I'm now just going to call out the chords and play this a number of times, probably for a minute or so. So once you're comfortable and you've practiced putting those 2 chords together, play along with me here. Alright, so let's begin with E minor and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, again, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, great. So keep practicing that until you can get us to that point where we're doing that last bit together. And then just keep practicing all that sort of stuff. And that is how to play 2 chords together at the same time using all the elements we've learned. There we have it. That was the first lesson in the first term of the Absolute Beginners course. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot. Remember, you can just tackle the course and the lesson bit by bit. So learn a little bit, recap, learn a little bit, recap, and just slowly get through the whole thing until you've done the whole thing and you've gotten to the point where you need to be. Then just practice that for a week and then slowly move on and then move on to the next lesson. Don't forget to find us on Facebook, The Sound of Art Cape Town. You can leave your posts, your comments, your queries and all that sort of stuff and we'll get back to you. Great, until the next lesson. Thanks very much.